Not all dangers come screaming. Sometimes they whisper. In relationships, the most corrosive dynamics often begin with phrases that sound harmless, even caring, but hidden beneath them lie patterns of emotional evasion, manipulation, and resistance to growth. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, explored this territory in depth. He spoke of the shadow self, the repressed side of our psyche we refuse to confront. And it's often in intimate relationships where that shadow is projected the most. Pair that with the brutal clarity of Stoic philosophy, which demands personal responsibility, rational thought, and emotional sovereignty, and you begin to see a pattern. The emotionally immature reveal themselves not through their grand gestures, but through the casual words they repeat. In this video, we'll explore 5 phrases that, when spoken by a man, should trigger more than just suspicion. They should make you question whether staying is even worth it. This isn't about finger-pointing or labeling people as toxic. It's about recognizing patterns, early. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, and most of all, your dignity. So let's begin. That's just how I am. The stone wall of stagnation. At first glance, this sounds like honesty, a man revealing his flaws, laying bare his limitations. But look closer. What's really being said is this: I refuse to grow. This phrase is a clever mask for emotional laziness. It's used to shut down conversations, escape responsibility, and dismiss any call for evolution. Carl Jung taught that integration, not perfection, is the goal of maturity. Facing your shadow, acknowledging your flaws, and doing the work to transform them. A man who says, "That's just how I am," isn't just refusing to change. He's choosing ignorance over growth. Stoic philosopher Epictetus was even blunter. It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. When a man holds the belief that he is fixed, unchangeable, he is rejecting reason, growth, and the core of Stoic virtue: progress through action. If you hear this phrase in response to your emotional needs, pay attention, because what he's really saying is, don't expect me to meet you halfway. You must do all the emotional heavy lifting, forever. That's not love. That's complacency with a philosophical shield. All my exes were crazy. The chronic victim pattern. There's nothing subtle about this one, but it's still dangerously seductive. You meet someone new. He's charming. He's funny. But somewhere in the conversation, he drops the line, "My exes." All crazy. It's meant to bond, to create sympathy. But don't miss what's underneath: deflection of responsibility and a deep unwillingness to self-reflect. Carl Jung warned, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But this man? He's not looking inward. He's crafting a narrative in which he's the constant victim. What happens when someone refuses to examine their past? They repeat it. And here's the danger. Right now, the crazy ex is someone else. But later, it might be you. All it takes is a disagreement, a challenge to his ego. And suddenly, you're the problem. The Stoics teach us to take ownership of our minds and actions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. But a man who blames every woman he's been with is running, not advancing. Healthy people reflect on their past relationships with balance. They admit mistakes. They grow. So if you hear, "All my exes were crazy," hear this instead: I've learned nothing. If you really loved me, you'd... The manipulator's hook. Few phrases are more poisonous than this one. It starts as a plea. It sounds like vulnerability, but it's actually a form of emotional blackmail, using your love as leverage. If you really love me, you do what I ask. Translation: I want control, and I'll weaponize your affection to get it. Carl Jung explored this through the lens of projection. When someone demands behavior through guilt, they're externalizing their need for control, painting it as romance. The Stoics would see this as the ultimate irrational act, using emotional chaos to bypass reason. True love, as Epictetus taught, is rooted in freedom, not guilt, not submission. This phrase twists love into obedience, and once you comply, the cycle deepens. The requests grow, your boundaries shrink, and soon you can't tell if you're loving him or obeying him. That's not partnership. That's performance under pressure. A man who truly respects you will never link your worth to compliance. He will make requests, not demands. He will honor your no as much as your yes. Love isn't conditional. Respect isn't a transaction. And the moment someone makes it one, walk away. You're too emotional. The gaslighter's favorite. This one cuts deep and fast. You're too emotional. It sounds like a casual comment, but what it really does is disarm you. It invalidates your reality. It paints you as irrational, overly sensitive, and unstable, just for expressing your feelings. Carl Jung might call this a projection of the man's own discomfort with emotion. Rather than face his own lack of emotional depth, he mocks yours. It's not about your expression, it's about his fear of vulnerability. And the Stoics? They believed in emotional discipline, not suppression. Seneca taught that while we must master our emotions, we must also acknowledge them. He who suppresses emotion too deeply, Seneca warned, invites destruction from within. When a man calls you too emotional, he's not concerned with your well-being. He's trying to control the conversation by putting you on the defensive. Don't defend. Observe. Ask yourself, is he interested in what I feel or only in silencing it? If it's the latter, the issue isn't your sensitivity. It's his inability to engage in real intimacy. Emotion isn't weakness, it's information. And anyone who tries to mute your emotional voice is not a safe place for your truth. Do whatever you want. The passive-aggressive trap. This phrase is often spoken with a sigh, a shrug, or a smirk. Do whatever you want. On paper, it sounds like freedom. In reality, it's a trap. Carl Jung described the shadow self as manipulative when unacknowledged. And this phrase is shadow manipulation at its finest. Feigned indifference hiding resentment. The real message: I'm upset, but I won't say it. You figure it out. And when you fail, it's your fault. Passive aggressiveness is emotional immaturity. It forces you to guess, tiptoe, and carry the emotional labor of two people. And over time it builds into chronic tension, unspoken resentment, and an erosion of trust. The Stoics would dismantle this dynamic immediately. Marcus Aurelius taught that clarity in thought and speech is a virtue. Let your words be plain, he said, because true strength lies in honesty, not in silence dressed as stoicism. If a man refuses to speak clearly but expects you to act intuitively, he's playing a power game, one where he gets to be the victim of your decisions. You're not a mind reader, and you shouldn't be punished for not being one. So if he says, do whatever you want, respond with clarity, I will. And if that's a problem, say it directly. Because silence isn't maturity. Communication is. Words are powerful. They don't just communicate, they reveal. They hint at deeper beliefs, unresolved wounds, and often unspoken intentions. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the hidden forces that drive us, the unconscious patterns that shape relationships, power dynamics, and personal evolution. And when those forces go unchecked, they express themselves, not through grand gestures, but through simple phrases repeated over and over. The Stoics, too, knew the danger of ignoring the subtle. They taught us that freedom lies not in controlling others, but in mastering ourselves, in recognizing manipulation before it becomes a prison, in choosing clarity over chaos, and in walking away when walking away is the most dignified thing you can do. Let's recap. That's just how I am is not honesty. It's a refusal to grow. All my exes were crazy is not venting. It's a red flag of chronic victimhood. If you really loved me, you'd is not love. It's emotional blackmail. You're too emotional is not feedback. It's gaslighting. Do whatever you want is not freedom. It's silent punishment.